Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Fuel community and Ethereum ecosystem. My name is Wack. Today is October 2nd, and today's episode is going to cover update on the votes that are taking place in Rocket Pool. On the staking, on the Ethereum side, we're going to be talking about the solo staker discussion and that continuing, and there's news out of Lido as well about the CSM. So let's get started on that.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Yeah, so today's episode is going to be a quick one. We just got a few things to cover. So the first thing we're going to start with is an update to RPIP62 and RPIP63 votes that are taking place right now. And as you can see from this snapshot, yesterday evening, around 36 hours after the votes went live, they reached Quorum, and that's what we saw here in the screenshot that Patches used. However, if we actually go to the vote page, you can see that here we got some more of the bigger voters who voted, and that was you can see right here that Langas voted, for example, for removing the rewards cliff, and a whole lot of other people voted for removing of the rewards cliff as well. So Langas, yeah, of course, with 844 votes, is one of the bigger vote delegates, and we're still waiting for Val to vote on this. He hasn't voted yet, and Patches, of course, will vote at the end to vote for the either A or B, depending on which one is winning. So if you actually have a look at the vote percentages now, we are up to like 81% for voting to have ETH only validators and remove the RPL cliff. For the second place is 10% of the vote, and that is going to having ETH only validators but keeping the rewards cliff, and about 9% of the vote is for people who are against both variants and they want to keep things the way they are as they stand. And of course, one of those people who voted for that and has a lot of vote power is Ramana. And Ramana said, as I said on the forum, this should have been coordinated better with out of protocol solutions. This is a protest vote, but I'll reconsider if it's close. So Ramana is just like protest voting. So the reality of it is that not many people are against it, and then they're strongly in favor of removing the cliff and having ETH only validators. A lot of people in this community are kind of surprised by this vote so far because they think it's a lot closer than they expected it to be. And they expected it to be a lot closer than it actually is. And this just shows you how much demand there is for ETH only validators and removing of RPL being a mandatory collateral for your node. So below 10% getting rewards for that as well. So this was actually a really interesting vote so far, and it looks like it's going to pass quite comfortably. We've already hit Quorum after a day and a half, well, 2 days now, and there's still a couple of big people to vote, and it looks like they will likely vote in favor of A or B in one way or another. So yeah, let's have the RPIP63 vote, and here as well we have around 81% of people voting in favor of this, around 10% of people voting against it, and a lot of that is actually from Noshua, I believe, and then there is about 9% of people who are abstaining, and here Ramana is abstaining. He's one of the big voters who's abstaining, and actually you can't see the screen that well. Yeah, so Ramana's abstaining, and then Noshua here is voting against as well, saying that the post 15 on the thread, which I talked about yesterday. But those are the two big people who are voting against the 4 option, and that is fine. But again, this looks like it's going to pass quite comfortably, and it's actually interesting that neither of these votes are 100% towards one thing, and that's absolutely fine. It's nice that people are presenting different opinions and perspectives, and that's absolutely totally okay. Let me just see if Langas also voted for this one. Yeah, he did, but he didn't leave a comment, so that's fine. But yeah, this was all good. Let's move on to some staking news now, and the big staking news of the day is coming out of the Lido ecosystem, and this is them having their early adoption list has been formed, and you can check your eligibility. So the way you do that is going to this GitHub page where you can connect your wallet and you can check the list, but there's also lists that you can have a look at and, for example, check if your address is on those lists, and who these users are and where these lists have come from. But I think there's 32,000 different addresses on this list, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But that's what I've been told. And you should definitely, if, maybe not definitely, but you can check if your name is on the list, and then you can become a Lido node operator as part of their early adoption eligibility. And the advantage that you have of being early adoption is that, of course, you don't have to wait for it to be permissionless. You can get in earlier than that. This is probably going to fill up quite quickly if there's so many eligible addresses. Also, one thing to note is that there's people who have multiple addresses on this list. So even though Lido kind of want to protect against sock puppeting and Sybil attacking, it's possible that some users will get access to more of the stake, which of course will make it more profitable for them in raw terms. But one thing that was quite interesting that happened today was Dima, who you saw on my Launchpad episode, came into trading, and Halululo asked him when CSM, and Dima said November 2024. So it looks like we are a month away. I am interpreting that as meaning November 1st, 2024. And that, is literally just less than a month away. So hopefully before then, Rocket Pool will have Constellation live, hopefully within a few weeks. That would be extremely exciting. And then we will also hopefully have a CSM going live, hopefully on October 24th. If the vote is looking good and everything else kind of falls into place, I think that would be extremely exciting to see. Okay, moving on to some Ethereum news now. And here we have a discussion about the solo staking and what it means for Ethereum and whether it's good or not, and well, what parts of it are good and what parts of it are not good for the growth of Ethereum. And Nixo, of course, who works with EthStaker and now Ethereum Foundation, actually wrote out this post about it, saying that the solo staking blob increase issues are happening right now seems to be two different conversations. One is low upload speeds and low quality modem router hardware, disregarding the quality of life of solo stakers. Degrading the quality of life of solo stakers. And the second is that solo stakers are the most likely parties to be building locally non-professional setups, and their proposals are more likely to be reorged out as a result of professional operator timing games. So for one, Nixo says speeds and modem router, so upload speed, the devil's advocate argument is that solo stakers who live in an area where the infrastructure doesn't provide sufficient bandwidth shouldn't be catered to. These aren't developing nations, these are suburbs or small cities in highly developed nations that just don't have great infrastructure. So I'm thinking of rural users in the USA, someone like Thomas, for example, or even people in other European countries that are more rural areas that don't have access to that kind of bandwidth. And then modem router quality, and saying while most people can choose their modems, some live in areas where ISPs provide explicitly subpar service if you don't use the hardware that they provide, which is a scam, we're all aware. Or more bleakly, the ISPs in some countries don't give you the choice. Nobody's happy with the way ISPs abuse their oligopoly power, but it's the current state of home networks, and these inferior hardware setups often struggle with lots of connections. So what looks like sufficient upload speeds might be bottlenecked elsewhere. And then here we see that for part two, locally built blocks being And then, with the locally built blocks being reorged, so this can be mitigated by either asking solo takers to stop building locally by using something like MEV Boost, or other creative solutions like allowing local block builders to specify how many blobs they want to include, or fetching blobs from their local execution layer blob pool. And these can be philosophically difficult positions to take in terms of sensitive resistance. Local block building is a huge part of the value proposition of solo stakers. If we exacerbate a system that economically punishes those not using the centralized set of builders, do we diminish the fundamental values of solo stakers? And if we allow them to reduce the number of blobs they include, do we increase a different type of censorship? And then the question becomes, the max blob increase urgent enough, and does it provide significant enough benefits that we're willing to lose a portion of solo stakers as a result of insufficient implementation research, knowing that Denkun put extra pressure on home stakers. We should approach changes to blob counts with a lot of research and intention if we want to be intentional about keeping home stakers economically and technically viable. A max blob increase, in my opinion, puts burden of data on those who want to push for the increase unless we want to YOLO the feature upgrade. In any case, I think we can achieve the feature upgrades we want, max and target blob increase, without losing any solo stakers with enough implementation testing and creativity on a reasonable timeline, i.e. not in Pectra 1. And then this actually got, some really interesting replies from people like Data Always. Jasper was in replies as well, and other people kind of talking about whether or not this was feasible or not. And then we had a couple of takes here, one from DC Investor saying, my view is it doesn't make sense to get rid of solo stakers, no home users verifying the chain. It's literally the thing which makes Ethereum unique and more anti-fragile than almost anything else, but we should discuss bandwidth and hardware requirements mindful of this, i.e. not everyone who can solo stake today should be eligible to, given their current hardware and bandwidth. It makes sense to me to try and find a workable balance which supports network health and decentralization with performance. And Anthony Cesano had a take as well. He's saying, frustrated with how readily people in this industry eat up total bullshit. No, Ethereum is not giving up on solo staking. This is a narrative pushed by people trying to discredit Ethereum's commitment to decentralization. Please don't believe everything you read on the internet. And then M Team says, we need more voices to represent different sides of the conversation. Ethereum is not making decisions or arguing on Twitter, but there are real factions pushing narratives. We all knew this would happen if we decentralize social coordination. And Anthony Sasana replies by saying, yeah, I'm all for having open discussion about everything, but I take issue with people who are only trying to sow division in the community. So this drama is still ongoing, and it looks like it's actually reaching the point where we're actually going to start getting actual research and deeper takes coming from this. This has actually been going on for a week now, this discussion, so over a week now, and I think that Max Resnick really kicked the hornet's nest with starting this discussion. And of course, I'm strongly advocating for solo staking being as viable as possible for as many people as possible, because I really do believe that this is the backbone of Ethereum, and we pretty much solo stakers, home stakers are carrying Ethereum, especially in issues of fragility of the network and any kinds of attacks. We've got better client diversity, we've got more likely to build blocks locally, we're more likely to include transactions that might be censored elsewhere, and all of these kind of things make Ethereum that much stronger. But I think there's also a case to be made for saying that there should be guidance from the Ethereum Foundation maybe, or clients saying, hey, you should have minimum hardware spec, you should have minimum bandwidth spec, and like Nixo says, that this could be a discussion that we put research into. And of course, with PIADAS later, this is going to get made a little bit easier, but for now, blobs are a reality, and increasing the blobs would put some pressure on some users. But yeah, it's a complicated issue, and we're going to be hearing about it a lot more, I think, in the days and weeks to come. But anyway, today's episode was a really quick one, so thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all enjoyed the episode, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.